Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta with my friend Paula over on Empowered Spirit Healing. Make sure if you are not subscribed to her channel, get subscribed. I see we have 3 people with us right now, which I'm actually shocked, Paula.
Oh, that's exciting.
We had tide change in America this week. We sprung forward, so we lost an hour of sleep on Sunday. And so I was telling you, it never fails. This first week after springtime time change kicks people in the butt. Like it is the hardest week. You feel jet lagged. So I was like, I don't know if we're going to have anybody this early in the United States, but we'll have the replay for people. So you're so lucky, Paul. You guys don't do time change, do you?
Well, we did try it out quite a few years ago when my big girls were little, so it was a good 10 years or so ago. But everybody voted no, and so I was quite happy about that. So I didn't want to worry about time change. It's
Oh, we got an Australian. Woohoo, Wendy. Oh, Dragonfly, you are up early, girl. How are you doing, Dragonfly, with the time change? I think Dragonfly, you're in the same East Coast as me, but all of America. I think we only have like a couple of states, like Arizona doesn't do honor time change, and I think parts of Indiana doesn't do it. It started, interestingly enough, time change started back when a lot of people worked the land and they needed more light. And so they negotiated more for winter, of shifting the time so people would have the light longer. But at this point, we have the beautiful technology of modernism, and so we don't really we can work in the dark.
It makes sense. It makes sense for back then, but in modern times, I mean, I'm not sure if it's really that beneficial for some people. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, Wendy, you're in the other side of Australia where it's 9:30 p.m. Yeah, that's so funny because with Paula, it's so easy right now that we're back to like the summertime because we're only 12 hours apart. So if it's like 6:30 for me in the morning, it's 6:30 p.m. for Paula. So it's really easy for us to schedule. But whenever I schedule with Tamara around this time, in the spring and the fall, I keep having to check because we change times at different times. And so and with Catherine as well, I keep having to check to make sure we're still, 12 hours apart, 14 hours apart, to make sure that we're on the same time when
we got it lucky, don't we? It's just a nice clean 12 hours.
12 hours, that's it. So, oh yes, thank you, Wendy. Yeah, Tamara is amazing. I swear to God, I think I must have lived in Australia in a past life because I feel like I love Australia. When I spent some time in Australia in like early-ish to mid 2000s, early 2000s, when my sister, she went to Australia to play in the Junior Australian Open. And so we were there for a while. I loved Australia. I feel like Australia's culture, like not governmental culture, but like just people culture, I feel like it's very similar to Southern American culture. We were talking about that. I feel like
we were just talking about that offline, how similar, and even just like talking about how hot it gets over there, and it gets so hot over here, and we don't really have a proper, well, I mean, Melbourne's different. Melbourne does, I think they experience a bit more of a winter, but WA, we're pretty lucky. We don't really get, unless you go down south.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty low. Like if you look at the map of Australia, Perth's like down here. So if you go even further down to like Margaret River and places like that, it's freezing down there. But yeah, we're pretty lucky where we are on the coast.
A few years ago, England had a quote unquote heat wave. And yes, I am going to make fun of the Brits right now because they just don't understand heat, do they? Their heat wave for a summer, we were looking at the temperatures, and Todd and I were like, that's a winter's day in Georgia. What? Like what was their heat wave is literally our winter. Like I'm like, oh, bless your heart. Like you guys. And I remember
we get like 40 to 45 degrees. So in America, 40 to 45 degrees.
100. We get up to like 100 Fahrenheit sometimes. And there have been times in the South where they will put out warning advisories where it gets so hot in the South that they actually warn you not to stay outside for too long, because we also have humidity as well. And the humidity is what makes it like brutal. When it's wet, that air is just like, it holds the heat. And like at night here in the summertime, you don't need a jacket. Like sometimes some places you go, you'll need like a light jacket for but here in the South, it's so humid that when the sun sets, it's still hot. Like there's still heat. Yes, Bree, LOL, time chat. Yeah, time change has kicked our ass. It always does. It always does. It is just like a push to get through the first week, to get acclimated to that losing that 1 hour. But I said this to my class yesterday with like time change. It feels like jet lag. Um,
Yeah.
Going
Can
to
imagine.
India, like it's like a 9.5 hour time change, is not as difficult as like flying to Los Angeles where it's like a 3 hour time change. For some reason, the little time changes are way more difficult than like the massive time change.
Interesting. Interesting.
Although Australia was pretty rough because you switch day and night.
Yeah.
So that's pretty.
It's
So when you
kind of
girls,
all out of whack.
yeah, when you girls come to America, we'll have to give you a few days before we start doing fun stuff
Just to adjust.
just to adjust. Yeah, just to get acclimated to. We'll load you up on Benadryl and NyQuil and at night, so you'll go to sleep.
Melatonin.
Yes, we'll just load you up. So yes, but anyway, you guys, so I'm shocked we have people in the chat. Thank you, Australia. Thank you
Yes.
to the
Thank you.
Americans who are up because I thought, oh my God, the Americans are going to be struggling this morning. But we have the replay crew as well, and that's what I love about doing lives is I don't have to edit. We can just leave it up once it's done, and that saves a lot of time for the editing side of doing videos. And so, but before we get into it, how are you, Paula? How are things going in Australia, in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just busy with school. We're like midway through the term. We're in term 1 over here because we start the new year with the new year and Christmas, January, February, we start the new year, and yeah, just school stuff going on and just work and just busy.
No news is good news, right? No change is good, right?
No, well, yes, that's right. But
I
there
mean,
are
some
some
change is good, but
changes to my website. I have recently updated my website and just made it more kind of clean and crisp and easy for people to kind of see what I have to offer and all that kind of thing. So yeah, so going well, going well. Yeah. How about you? How are you going, Bryce?
all good. We're in the junction of seasons for both you and
Yes.
for me. So we're going from mild heat to full on heat. And you're going from full on heat to mild heat.
Yes.
And
From cool down.
we're gonna talk a little bit today, guys, about a new series that we've uploaded on Fusion Body Studio called The Myths of Asanas. And this actually came kind of as a request from some of our students. Because I talk a lot about I love Hinduism. And part of the reason why I love Hinduism is because all of these, and I don't mean any disrespect to any Hindus who are watching me when I say this, but this is my perspective as a Westerner who's used to like an Abrahamic, Bible, Jude, the Western, civilization. For me, Hinduism, when I first was really introduced to like all the stories, it reminded me a lot of Grimm's fairy tales, like
Yeah,
these
right.
very majestic stories
Mm-hmm.
of monkey gods and
Yeah.
you know and Shiva, and like it was just very like colorful and very like a lot of the stories in the Bible, even though there are some there's some fantastical stories in the Bible like Samson's magic hair and walking on water. It's pretty much like an account of like everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana, it's very magical, right?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest misunderstanding that I probably had, that a lot of Westerners have, is that a lot of these stories are meant to be. Hey, Shane, we were just talking about you the other day. Todd was like, "Have you seen Shane lately?" So hello,
Oh,
hello.
another Australian.
So we start to recognize names, and we get close to you guys. So you guys are our friends. But I think Westerners see Hinduism with these mythical stories as like legitimate stories, but a lot of them aren't. They're just metaphors, kind of like what fairy tales are for us. In a lot of ways, they teach us
Yes,
lessons, right?
we do. Very
And
valuable lessons.
yeah, so I think that I will focus more on that in this conversation about what this means and how this really affected my life, and my view on exercise in general. And it's kind of the backbone of Fusion Body Studio, right?
Yeah,
Like even though
absolutely.
even though we're a fitness boutique, that's our marketing slogan.
But we've got a spiritual twist.
Yeah, we're not. I couldn't care less. Like I could.
Sorry, Millie's just come to say hello.
Millie's the star of the show. I could not care less, like about.
Sorry.
About you using fitness as vanity. Like that's not my motivation as a teacher. And so let's play, Paula, do you mind if we play the first 8 minutes of our first video in the Myths of Asana series for our audience to hear? All right, let me put it on screen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fusion Body Studio. This video begins a new series that is very close to my heart, called Myths of Asanas, Stories from India that teach the spirit in exercise. This series comes from something that changed my life in a profound way. For 20 years now, traveling to India, working with master teachers in the United States through yoga, I went through a profound change. For many people, they believe yoga is stretching, that yoga is flexibility, and that yoga is fitness. But India and the traditions of yoga will show you something very different. Through my experiences, I discovered that yoga is not simply exercise. Yoga is a philosophy, a way of living, a way of suffering, and ultimately a way of finding the soul through the body. The trainings I've experienced in my life are grueling. And I mean that honestly. All my trainings were hot, were intense. Sometimes I would be exhausted beyond what I thought my body could tolerate. Hours of practice, repetition, sweat, failure, falling out of poses, trying again. Sometimes wondering why I was even doing it. But something remarkable happens when the body is pushed beyond comfort. The ego begins to dissolve. And when the ego dissolves, something else begins to emerge. Presence, stillness, awareness. And what I slowly began to understand is that the physical practice of yoga or exercise in general is not about the body at all. It's about awakening the spirit through the body. In the West, exercise is usually framed in a very narrow way. We are told to exercise so we can lose weight, look good, burn calories, be skinny, fit into clothes. Through this, exercise becomes punishment. Punishment for eating, punishment for aging, punishment for existing in a human body. But the ancient traditions of India see the body very differently. The body is not something to punish. The body is something to awaken through. The body becomes the path, the laboratory, the vehicle. And the suffering and exercise is not something to avoid. It's something to learn from. One of the most fascinating things I discovered while studying in India is that many yoga poses are connected to stories. Ancient myths, legends, symbolic teachings. These stories come primarily from traditions rooted in the Indian subcontinent, places like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. These regions share thousands of years of storytelling traditions that blend philosophy, mythology, and spiritual psychology. And what surprised me most is that these stories are not meant to be taken literally. They are metaphors. They are symbolic stories that describe the inner journey of the human being. The struggle, the transformation, the awakening. And when you understand the stories behind the poses, the practice changes. Suddenly you're not just doing a posture, you're embodying a myth. In the West, we often categorize Hindu mythology as religion, but that framework can be misleading because many of these stories function like psychological maps. They describe inner forces inside every human being. For example, demons often represent fear or ego. Gods often represent wisdom or consciousness. Battles represent inner struggle. Mountains represent stability. Rivers represent transformation. These myths are not telling us about distant supernatural beings. They are telling us about ourselves. The word asana, they say, simply means posture. But in the deeper yogic tradition, an asana is not just a posture. An asana is exercise. And in that exercise, a state of being. It is a state of being of the body that teaches a state of being of the mind. When we practice an asana long enough, the posture begins to shape our consciousness. Strength creates courage. Balance creates focus. Stillness creates awareness. And endurance creates resilience. This is why the ancient yogis connected physical exercise to mythological stories. Because the body remembers stories far better than the intellect does. When you move through a pose connected to a story, you begin to feel that that story is in your body. This philosophy became the backbone of Fusion Body Studio. Because at its core, Fusion Body Studio is not about fitness. It's about transformation. Every class we offer, whether it's bar, cardio, strength training, low-impact workouts, chair burn, or yoga, comes from the same foundational philosophy that exercise is not punishment. Exercise is awakening. The burn you feel in your muscle is not suffering for vanity. It's the body teaching the mind resilience. It's the body teaching the spirit endurance. It's the body reminding you that you are stronger than you believe. One of the most misunderstood aspects of exercise is discomfort. We live in a culture that teaches us to avoid suffering at all cost. But every ancient spiritual tradition understood something profound. Growth requires discomfort. Transformation requires challenge. Awakening requires effort. Yoga never promised comfort. Yoga only promised liberation. And liberation comes through discipline, through persistence, through the willingness to stay in the fire just a little bit longer. And when you do that, you discover something extraordinary. You discover that your strength is far greater than you imagined. In this series, we are going to explore the myths behind many well-known yoga poses. Stories of sages, stories of warriors, stories of gods and demons, stories of transformation. But more importantly, we are going to explore what these myths teach us about the human spirit. Each episode will take one or two asanas and dive in. The myth behind the pose, the symbolic meaning of the story, and how that meaning appears in our own exercise practice. Because when you understand the myth, the pose becomes alive. My hope with this series is simple. I hope these stories inspire you the way they inspired me. When I first heard them in India, something shifted in the way I saw movement. Exercise stopped being about something I forced myself to do. And instead, it became something sacred. A daily ritual, a conversation between body and spirit, a way of discovering God not somewhere outside of me, but inside the experience of effort, breath, and presence. And that is the deeper purpose of movement. Not to become skinny, not to become perfect, but to awaken. To become strong enough to carry your soul through life. So welcome this journey. Welcome to Myths of Asanas. Sorry guys, I'm still learning StreamYard here. So that is our new series. I'm really excited about this. We're going to be doing this in sections. We put series 1 up. We're going through categories of different postures, like how it affects the practitioner, postures of the gods, postures of the animals, so that we understand the significance of what this ancient teaching was telling us. And it really is not, that's something that I really had an aha moment about, especially when I broke my sacrum and I started doing bar, that this philosophy, this yoga philosophy, really all asana is saying is just movement, just move. It doesn't matter. Of course, different yoga poses open up different vayus or energetic connections in the body. If yoga is something you want to do, fantastic. We have that on Fusion Body as well, but it's not do or die. You can you can go for a run and have the same experience. I mean, I've said that before, Paula. My brother-in-law is an ultra marathon runner. This means that he runs like 50 miles. What is that in kilometers? I'm going to let you know for us in a second because it's
I
crazy.
think it's pretty far.
What is, hold on one second. If anybody knows in the chat, let us know. But I know we have a lot of Aussies in the chat as well. What is, so you guys can appreciate what I'm saying, 50 miles. 2 kilometers. It's 80.4 kilometers.
Wow.
So it takes about 10 hours to do it. Wow. My brother-in-law is not running 50 miles or 80 kilometers for health.
Yeah, there's something else going on there.
There's something else happening. You can run 2 to 3 miles for your health. It's his time with God. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Shane, a lot of people, I'm going to put your comment up, Shane, because a lot of Westerners don't know this. And I didn't, I mean,
I didn't.
I was very fortunate to stumble upon this pretty early on in my, I've been doing this for 20 years, pretty early on. And I'll never forget, there's a, Shane, and I know, Paula, you guys have heard me say this before, there's a Sanskrit word that I love. It's one of my favorite words. It's called prativa. And prativa, generally speaking, translates to a flash of illumination. What we would say in the West is like an aha moment or a lightning bolt moment. I'll never forget. I was in Philadelphia, actually, when it dawned on me in a conference with David Garrigues that, oh, this is not, there's no mention about like losing weight or like, this is about burning energy and opening energy in the body. That's what's happening when we sweat. And yeah, you're also burning calories and losing weight too. That comes with it. But we've inverted it in the West where we make it solely about, but you even see in a lot of like therapeutic practices, they'll tell you to exercise because it clears your mind. It's steady.
It's so important. I mean, speaking of Edgar Casey, because Jennifer and I have been studying him, and so he started his own hospital. Unfortunately, only lasted for about a year, maybe 1 to 2 years. But he even put exercise as a very important part. And he said everybody should be moving every day, and that was a very important part of the healing process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so funny, when I had spinal surgery in the 90s, when I was in the late 1900s, as Paula's kids might say.
Yeah.
People.
In the olden days.
In the olden days.
My little girl used to say to me, Mum, when you were in the olden days, I'm like, okay, I'm really not that old, thanks.
It's so funny because and wait, young kids just wait, because at 43, I still feel like it was yesterday that I was 17. So I wake up every morning feeling in my mind young, not realizing my body's getting older. But when I had my back surgery back in the 90s, they didn't want me to move for a long time. Now, even modern hospitals start people in physical therapy like right away. Wow. Right away, even if it's a little bit of movement just to get the blood flow. And from a very medical perspective, your blood, well, in spirituality, we call it your sacred DNA. So your blood is literally the one thing that's going to heal you the best out of every medication, all that kind of stuff, your blood. And so when we have tightness or injury, there's usually like when you have like a traffic jam in a city, like Paul and I live in cities, I sit in traffic jams all the time. That's what happens with the blood around a injured or tight spot. And so like cupping, something like cupping does will like pull that blood up so fresh blood can come in. But that's also what exercise is doing as well. So that's why it's super important, like we say in the bar classes, like I don't want people to skip the in part, because in the bar classes, we're doing so much to break the muscles down, to get you hot and sweaty, to get the body nimble. but then we need to stretch it and integrate it so that we can then make sure we're really opening up the body to get fresh blood in. And that's because the nature mirror, the soul creates the nature to mirror the soul. It's not the soul, but it's created to mirror it. Only then do we start to refine the karma. Do we start to like work on pulling up what we came to work on in this life? Does that make sense? Let me know if that just sounds wackadoo, you guys, because it makes sense in my head. So let me know. Does it make sense in yours?
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. It does, absolutely. Because I mean, we need to move everything around the body. And if you're just being stagnant all the time, it's, you know, nothing's moving. And
yeah.
And it's like if you think about a pond, you know, if a pond doesn't have any fresh flowing water, it just gets all mucky and gross and full of algae and stinks. And yeah, so it's like you need that movement. It just, yeah, makes a lot of logical sense.
And I think too, one thing I like to focus on, Paula, especially on Fusion Body Studio, is, and I'll share this with you because we're doing this on Fusion Body Studio. We would love to have you guys over on Fusion Body Studio, but we're not a cult. If anything you take from us and you go find a teacher elsewhere, we're happy about that as well. We just want you guys to take your autonomy back. That's my whole point. We would love for you to join us, but you're not beholden to us, if that makes sense. Yes. We just want you to find, I just want to share what I've been taught to help you guys on your journey as it's helped me. But when you come into this work and you start to like deconstruct that idea, because especially like, you know, I was born in 1983. So at the beginning of the 80s, we were like in America, probably a lot of the Western world, you had that jazzercise, which jazzercise is totally fun. Don't get me wrong. You had Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, low-fat diets. Like some of my earliest memories is sitting in the back of a jazzercise arena where my mother was in her leotard from the 80s I was coloring while she was doing her jazzercise. I've been to countless Weight Watchers meetings with my mom. So I feel like for our generation, Paula, we were really born into a big push into body image.
Yeah, huge.
And so for us as women born in the 80s, growing up in the 80s and the 90s, experiencing that with supermodels and then being there for the onslaught of social media, I think there developed a lot of very unhealthy relationships, with myself included, with exercise and diet.
Yeah, and I think there was just an immense amount of pressure. And in high school, I was very into fashion. So I would, you know, I had subscriptions to like InStyle and Vogue and that kind of thing. And so I would look through them and I would put all these posters up on my wall of these beautiful women, but they were just so thin. And I looked at myself and I looked at them and I thought I was supposed to look like them. And it's just not realistic. And so I just berated myself for years. And I'm not alone. Like, I know that so many of us have done that. And I would do extreme amounts of exercise. I even convinced my dad to buy me a rowing boat because we did rowing. We have the Swan River in Perth, which is, quite famous, the Swan River. And so I had friends that we would go rowing with. But I've always kind of been a bit weaker in my upper body. I'm kind of always been stronger in my lower body. So I was just like, well, Dad, I really need to learn I need to get stronger. So you need to get me a rowing machine. They were quite expensive, but I talked him into it. And I would just, I was full on working out all the time because I would just put so much pressure on myself to have a perfect body. And
it's definitely, and that was me too. I remember, there's a Leanne Morgan. She's a comedian here in the United States. She's from Tennessee, the state above me. And she's a clean comedian. She's so funny, but she talks about like the diet pills. And I remember like Metabolife. Who remembers Metabolife? And my mother would take Metabolife, and then we started like taking Metabolife. And Leanne Morgan in her comedy, she goes, "We were doing speed as a family." Like that's like what we were doing. Like it was a family event.
Family affair. Yeah.
Just to take these pills to try to suppress your appetite. And I think what happens too, Paula, like in my own exploration within my own body, like in my own experiences, first of all, having that prativa moment where everything started to like unravel didn't mean that my perspective changed overnight, right? I realized the difference, and then I had to work on myself to get me to experience it in that way and not in the way that I had been trained to experience exercise. Now, with that being said, I've said this before, I will give my mother a lot of props that she literally I mean, she worked out all the time to be skinny, but I watched my mother exercise every single day. And so for me, coming into this practice, that was normal to work out every day. So that did help me set the pattern
Yeah.
of going to the mat every day. But I just needed to change the reason why I was going to the mat every day.
Yeah.
And I started to, and I've talked to you, we've talked about this, I think, offline before. You know, when we look at exercise, whatever exercise you're doing, first of all, the first 7 to 10 minutes mentally can sometimes be the hardest.
Mhm.
In the first 7 to 10 minutes, if you can make it past the beginning, starting is the hardest. Usually you start to get into kind of a zone, right? The mind starts to kind of move with the body. But inevitably, there's going to come a point towards the crux of the workout where things are really hard, where the body is really sweaty and starting to experience some fatigue, and there's
Mhm.
intense burn, where the mind then will pop back up again and start to negotiate with you. So
Yeah.
the mind in the yogic sense would be the ego. And I think sometimes, and I need to be better, I think, at clarifying this because I'm so used to being in the yoga world that I think I assume people know what I say when I mean this. And ego basically in yoga just means your false sense of self. So it's not like narcissism. It's not, it's just
Yeah.
your false sense of self. And so we rely on the thoughts of our mind, whereas yoga tells us, those aren't actually real. Like yoga to you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just a reaction to what's happening around you. Don't cling to your thoughts, observe them. And so when you get to that point where it's really like you're kind of at that point where your body's getting tired and you're sweaty and things are really burning and you're shaking, the mind will start to subtly negotiate. Oh, this is enough. I'm not strong. This is fine. I'll just end it here. You know, and it's very subtle the way it does it, right? And
Mhm.
for me, still to
Very
this day,
convincing.
very convincing because you're feeling it, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, for me, I laugh like even it never fails. Like after we get done filming, I'm going to do my practice, and I know the minute I get on my mat, something my mind's going to be like, you need to change the laundry. Like there's always because I've worked myself through the whole negotiations. I know how to deal with the negotiations now. So now my mind finds other things. It's going to always try to find something else to cling to outside of the demo because all that exercises is a demolition of the ego. And so something that we've talked about, Paula, that when I started to recognize this years ago, and I would be in the part of the practice that was really stressful, my workout that was really stressful, that was hard, and my mind would start to negotiate. You know, we see it in the yoga world, people start all of a sudden picking their nail polish on their mat, or all of a sudden people have to go to the bathroom, like right before you know
Yeah.
it. Like these little things start to happen that it's the mind playing tricks on you. Instead of seeing it as discomfort, what I started to train myself to do was when I get, let's use bar for example, because that's a very real, like when you're bouncing with the ball between your legs and it's burning.
Mhm.
Instead of jumping out of it, what I would train myself to do would say, okay, what is the burn? Let me explore this burn for a moment. What is being pulled up out of here? And it took a long time for me to like train myself to be interested in the discomfort instead of run from the discomfort.
Mm.
Um,
And I've done that too. Just being in certain positions that are uncomfortable and it brings up a lot of uncomfortable emotions. And then I kind of just ask my body, okay, what are you trying to share with me? What are you trying to tell me? So when it's been, sometimes anger's come up, sometimes sadness has come up, sometimes it's just different emotions and it's just because it's been held there and that's uncomfortable and then it just needs to be released.
yeah,
So
sometimes you don't even need to have like, I think sometimes when we talk about like shadow work, like stuff coming up, I think people always want the story. Like, why is this anger coming up? Why? And sometimes it's not even necessary. Sometimes it's not even necessary to know where that anger has come from.
just acknowledging
Yes.
that you feel that way and then you can tell yourself that's okay, I can move through this, I can release it. And I find just allowing yourself to fully feel it allows it to be released.
Yeah, absolutely. And know that it's not a one and done. You know, it's layers. Like you might work
Yeah.
through something like there might be, you know, a lot of sadness that comes up for a long time and then it goes away and you're flying and you're good. And then a year later it might come up again. And
That's
that's being
frustrating as
human.
that
Just, it is what it is.
is.
I
It's just, yeah.
also, you know, I was telling another student this, one of our students last week, this too, something that I think is really important. Um, to share with you guys because I think this is not just something with yoga, but I think this happens. It happens with me with bar now. I think it happens to runners when you're physically. Let's just take it down to the training. When you're physically training and you get stronger and more supple, and the practice, the workout starts to feel different because your body is more capable, and you're flying high and things are going well. Well, inevitably, at some point, that's all going to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Inevitably. It happens all the time in yoga. It happens to me in bar still, where all of a sudden things that used to be easy for you are now difficult again. And
Wow.
people freak out when this happens.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what's going on. And I don't know for sure what's going on, but I tell you the pattern of what happens. Usually when that happens, guess what? Give it a week or two, you're going to have a major breakthrough.
Yeah.
That's usually
And
what's about to happen.
that happens with healing work too. I mean, there's so many times I'm like, seriously, have I not dealt with this already? But it's because you're dealing with it at a deeper level. And so it's the same with the exercise. It's then become uncomfortable again. It's like you've done a circle because it's then taking you to a deeper level with it.
Yeah. And it's like a slingshot. You know, I tell students, like when you have a slingshot, you have to pull it back before you release it forward. And that's typically what I've noticed. I don't know exactly why it decides to shut down everything that you've worked so hard for, that you're flying, but it does that. And all of a sudden, like, people will be in Ashtanga, they'll be getting their leg behind their head perfectly fine, doing back bends, catching their ankles, flying high. They'll walk in 1 week and all of a sudden they can't get their leg behind their head, or they've lost a bind and a twist, and they look at you panicked. It's like, it's okay. It's okay. That slingshot, something, don't give up. Don't stop now. Who cares if for a week you struggle again, because you're about to have this to me means you're about to have a breakthrough.
And you know what's really interesting is that it's not just in exercise and healing work that this happens. There are actual graphs. I can't remember what they're called, but in business as well, there are actual graphs that show where people will kind of like be going and going and going, and then they just kind of have this downfall, but then they break and they go through to the next level in their business as well. Like the share market shows that. If you ever check out the stock market. So it's I feel like it's a very natural thing for that to happen. It's part of nature. We've got to break through to reach the next level.
Speaking of nature, then you break a good point. Like in the summer, it's hot. The fall, the leaves die and they go off the trees, and everything's cold and dead. And then in spring, it comes again. It bulbs and breaks through again.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go through that, and I know it's still hard for me when it happens to me, because it still happens to me. When it's like, damn it, like, why is this hard again? Like, you start to beat yourself up, but you have to just keep going, because eventually, all of a sudden one day, you're going to come back on your mat defeated, and everything is going to be back in place again, and you're going to have had a realization. Or for people, sometimes if weight is an issue, sometimes people will get stronger, stronger, stronger. They'll have a fallback, and when they have that breakthrough, you see it in their body as well, because all of a sudden they'll drop weight. Like the body will is hold, and then releases. Todd has a really funny story. I'm going to paraphrase this because this happened to him in India very literally. So Todd never had a yoga teacher before he went to India. And when he got to India, before he got there, he like got a book on it and like watched a video to kind of learn the primary series. And I guess Patabi Joyce like misunderstood that because usually people had practiced for a long time with their home teacher before going to India. And so they were on the roof, like having it sounds weird, but in India, there's a lot of social, the way their roofs are designed, it's like upper patios. I know they were on the roof. No,
hanging out on the roof.
It's designed that way in India. So we are on the roof a lot. It's kind of like their party place. But he was on the roof with Papa Tabi Joyce. They were having like a little dinner or something. And Todd was one of the younger, he was like 22, which most people go to India in their 30s and 40s, you know? And so he was kind of this like unicorn, right? This leprechaun, literally with his red hair. But the older students were like, "Oh my God, you have to tell Guruji. This is so funny. It's so funny that you've never had a teacher, that you taught yourself this stuff through a book before coming all the way to India. Guruji will get a kick out of this." And so Todd tells Guruji, and it was one of the biggest mistakes he ever made because Guruji got so mad. He was like, "Incorrect. Book learning incorrect. You need a teacher." And so Todd said for like a month, every time he walked in to my room that morning, Patabi Joyce was all over him, cranking him, yelling at him, having him do it again, 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 to the point where Todd would have to go throw up sometimes in the middle of practice. But Todd stuck with it. He stuck with it. He kept coming back. Todd can be stubborn like myself, and that I think that's a good thing in this situation. Well, Todd said, and he lived right beside Guruji, and the shala was in his house. And Todd said he woke up one morning so sick, just woke up sick as a dog, just coming out of both ends. And so he called got one of his friends, and they took him to an Ayurvedic clinic, and he got fluids. That's all that happened. They just let him lay there, and he missed the shala. He didn't go to practice that day. For 2 days, he like spent the night at the Ayurvedic clinic just getting fluids into his system. And then the second day, and the day he woke up in the hospital, he said he woke up and he felt like everything was just a lot clearer, like colors were brighter, his mind was clearer. And so he checked himself out. His temperature was gone. He wasn't throwing up or having diarrhea anymore. So they let him go. They discharged him, and he was walking back to his house. So he walked in front of Guruji, and Amma, his wife, were sitting outside. It was the afternoon of the next day. And he said, Guruji looks at Todd, he yells at him, he goes, why you know today? Why didn't you come to class today? And Todd said he gets closer, and Guruji stands up. He goes, oh, as he sees Todd, he goes, complete revolution. He says, come, come, come. So Todd comes into Guruji's house, and Amma are sitting there. Guruji's like, did you take medicine? Or medicine take? And Todd said, no, Guruji, no medicine take. Oh, correct. Just fluids, Ayurvedic. Oh, correct. And they gave him some turmeric and some vitamins. And Guruji was just so excited that seeing that Todd had cleansed, that all of the work, the intensity that Guruji had put on Todd after he found out Todd had never had a teacher before, put Todd in a place that was all intentional. So Todd realized he wasn't being punished by Guruji. He was being cleansed. He was going through a necessary cleansing that Guruji then realized he had never had before. And Todd said after that moment, he got back to Mysore the next day, and all of a sudden he was able to catch binds he wasn't able to catch before. He lost like 20 pounds in a matter of like a week or two. Like weight just dropped off. I'm going to tell you what 20 pounds is. And what do you guys do in Australia for your weight?
Kilos. We do kilos.
2 kilos. That's 9 kilos.
Wow.
So like in a very short amount of time, he dropped 9 kilos, which is about 20 pounds. He started to tone up. Like all of a sudden he had the 6-pack, and his practice had a breakthrough. So much so that he started practicing primary series without any difficulty anymore. Like it takes about 10 years to master it, but all of a sudden he said like a month or two later, he was walking by Guruji again, and Amma was sitting outside, and I was like, oh, Guruji, no pain anymore. No pain in primary series, all flying, no pain. And he said he heard Guruji say something in Kannada to his wife, and they giggled a little bit. And Guruji goes, tomorrow's second series coming. Much pain coming was second. And so, it's just never ending, but you have to write it out. Like so many people quit right when it gets interesting.
Yeah.
And I think, Paula, people have this misplaced idea. I think they think that spirituality is supposed to just feel good. It's supposed to be light and love and unicorns. That's next life. That's fourth density. Spirituality is pretty dark, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, look, I'm pretty honest that that's something that I've struggled with my workouts is I'll get so far and I do so well. And then boom, I just keep having something will self-sabotage and, and it just keeps happening. But I'm not giving up. It's something I'm keep working on, and I'm more aware of it now. And, I've been doing some tapping to help myself deal with that. Yeah. And I just, need to make that breakthrough. But it's just so fascinating it was so fascinating to hear that story because I've been reading Anna, the Grandmother of Jesus on my channel, and it's all explaining about Jesus, or Yeshua, his real name. It's about his childhood and all the initiations he had to go through before he was known as Jesus Christ. So all these years that are missing in the Bible are covered in this book. And it's explaining that he went to Egypt, he went to Britain, he went to India, he met Babaji, he went through so many initiations of really intense, full-on stuff. At one point, he was locked in a cave for like who knows how long in the dark, no food, no water, nothing.
Sensory deprivation.
Sensory deprivation, because he had to overcome the fear of death in order to do what he was meant to do. So it's just so fascinating, and it's really interesting to hear that. So there are obviously lots of different ways that you can go about doing this, but the point is we have to purify ourselves. And we're just not doing that in this day and age. You know, we're just programmed. There's so much junk thrown at us.
We're addicted to the ego. We're addicted to the false sense of self. And that's the main problem that Patanjali talks about in the Yoga Sutras, is like, who you think you are is not who you are. And that's what causes suffering, because I think I'm Bryce. This is it, pure and simple. I think that I am Bryce. I'm a 43-year-old girl from Georgia. That's who I think I am. However, Bryce is not eternal. Bryce is going to die one day. In my subconscious, I know that. But I'm clinging to the identity of Bryce as me forever. But yet that me forever I know is going to die. So it causes conflicting emotions. So there's struggle, there's fear, there's fear of death, there's fear. But what Patanjali is saying is like, actually, Bryce is just the ride. You aren't actually Bryce. Like, you're a soul. And your soul is not Bryce. Your soul is not your past lives. These are just rides that you've gotten on. They don't say rides. I call it a ride. This is just an experience. There is no death. Your soul's never, you can't kill, you can't murder a soul. Like, a soul is going to move on. Like, it's not, and so that is the big, so when you start to examine your thoughts, when you start to like not give in to the negotiations of the mind and you just examine them but keep going, that's when the ego starts to lose hold.
And that's why it fights. That's why it tries to tell you to do anything but keep going.
And that's what taught, a lot of these other things we do in like the spiritual world are fun, but I think so many people avoid exercise because that's the real potent elixir of spirituality. People would rather just go get massaged and just read tarot cards because the ego can thrive then, right? The ego can stay safe. My identity as Bryce can stay intact if I'm just reading tarot cards, because the tarot cards are telling the story of Bryce, not the story of my soul.
Exactly.
Because if the tarot cards told the story of my soul, it would be any of our souls, it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, it would be pretty boring.
It would just be consistent bliss, right? Like, what is it when Todd's teacher used to say, bliss is blistering, And so when you start to actually, in Sri Swami Satchitananda, in his commentaries of the Yoga Sutras, he says something very profound in his commentary. The minute you recognize this, the minute you realize what your false sense of self is, and you go through that mourning period of like, oh my God, no, I am not this avatar. Once you go through that, you start to really have fun in life.
Yeah.
You start to really enjoy it. All of a sudden, every drama, every plot twist in life becomes exciting because it's part of the ride.
Yeah, part of the play.
It's not real. It's part of the experience, right? And so even though we take it, we take it very seriously. Like, Patanjali's not telling you to be a psychopath and just hurt people because it's fit. No, you have to live your choices, because then you have to take the next avatar, right? But understanding that this is all an experience for your soul. That's all it is. It's like going into, when we have here in Georgia, when you guys come visit, we'll take the girls to Six Flags over Georgia. It's our amusement park here, and we have really cool rides. Six Flags is a franchise. They have it all over the United States. And one of the rides that I went to when I was a kid, I don't know if they still have this ride, it was a Superman ride, and I loved it because you would get buckled in, and then the machine would turn you so that you're looking at the ground, but like you're flying. And so
Yeah.
then the ride would go so like you were flying. So you really, it was simulating
Yeah. What it would be
flying.
like to fly.
So you
Wow.
were flying. You were strapped to a machine, but you were flying, right? In that
Yeah.
moment, you were flying. So in that moment, my avatar, but then when I get off, but that's not what, that's not me all the time, right? I'm not the ride.
Yeah.
And so then we have the lazy river, then you have Splash Mountain, and then you have all these different experiences. And that's literally what your soul is doing with all these lives. Every single life is giving you a simulated experience that your soul asked for. That doesn't mean you have to succumb to violence. It doesn't mean you have to succumb. Maybe you were put in a situation to learn how to fight back, to learn how to be strong, right? And so with exercise though, it is I just so many people are looking for enlightenment. First of all, enlightenment's not possible in third density. It's just not possible. What's possible though in third density is doing the work to understand what that there are things you don't understand and that you're not and giving up that fear of mortality.
Well, I guess it depends on how you define enlightenment. I mean, if it's the way that a lot of the New Age teaches, well, then yeah, I don't really agree that we're going to be achieving that. But to me, enlightenment is basically shedding the ego and
Yeah, but wait,
realizing
it's not.
about having an ego death.
And the ego's always going to be around though. That's the whole I just don't want
Oh
people to
yes, of
have to,
course, yeah, yeah,
it's when we and because we have amnesia, because we go through amnesia, like we're not, and there's a reason why, like Lou has said, there is a very good reason why we have amnesia. Like the situation we're in third, if we didn't have amnesia, it would be a disaster. In fact, that we used to not have it, and it was a complete disaster because we could see everything happening. We could see everything, and that's not good. That's not a good thing. That really put us into a lot of trauma. And so yeah. So Lou basically said, Shane, that for me, because of my extra vertebrae, that I don't want to go to seventh, so I keep coming back to wonder. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? He's like, you love it. So that's what after six we go, and that's why I have that's why I'm O negative and have and that because that's yeah. So I'm not in seventh. I that's where my soul doesn't want to go. I keep coming back. I'm the
But what are
dumbass.
your thoughts? But what about like Jesus, for example? I mean, for me, that he is the vision of enlightenment because
I
he
kind of
was
take the law of one story of Yeshua, what happened.
okay.
So yeah, he understood everything he teaches is what I'm saying now, like what I'm actually saying now. It's all about the soul and the body. If you read the gospel, the Gnostic, because that's Gnostic. Gnostic means inner knowing, right? That's the Greek word
Yes.
for inner knowing, gnosis. The opposite of that is idio, which is outer knowing. So idio would be like book smart. So like a lot of
Yeah.
religions really live in idio. So
Yeah.
idio is kind of the false sense of self. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need idio to survive in the world, but it's not nourishment for our soul. The soul is gnosis. So that's kind of the same thing that yoga is teaching us, right? Um, so the law of one, interestingly enough, says that Yahshua, so it's very rare for a soul to wander in fourth density. Most souls will not wander in fourth because they're too close to third. So they still, I mean, you see how Lou is very sassy sometimes, very loving, but can be very sassy because they are very close to they don't have amnesia. They know all, they see all, but they're
Right.
very close to that's why we love animals so much because animals are
Yeah.
second density, right?
Yeah.
We feel a commonality with the animals. We feel protective over animals, yeah?
Mhm.
So Yahshua wanted to wander as a fourth density soul, which is
Right.
why he was so enigmatic. Like that's why he was because it was where sixth density wanderers, which when I found this out, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Sixth density wanderers are more tough love because when you get to six, you're kind of walking the razor's edge. So it's very tough love, and I can be that way, very tough love. I feel very
Mhm.
sensitive, and I get emotional, but I know what needs to happen, especially in spirituality. I know I can't coddle. I know that coddling somebody is harming them. I know that, and that's just more of a sixth density. Whereas fourth density, even Lewis said that's what they struggle with. They're trying to learn that wisdom of not coddling, of allowing people to make mistakes. So law of one, and you guys, I'm paraphrasing. You'll have to go back and read the law of one when they talk about Yahshua. Yahshua made a very rash decision and came down to earth as a fourth density wanderer. He wanted to come back to help, and it got him into a lot of trouble because he didn't know the boundaries of tough love. So they
Right.
also say he wasn't crucified. That is very clear that he never was actually crucified. But that there were some issues, and that's why a lot of people have been able to manipulate his teachings, because there was a sporadicness to him that is very common for fourth density. So imagine coming out of third density, going to fourth density service to others, and seeing all the corruption and seeing everything, and then wanting to go back and like help, desperately help. But you don't quite have the understanding of wisdom yet to just let things happen, right? So that's kind of their perspective, Law of One says about Yeshua. Now, when people pray to Jesus, they're not actually praying to Yeshua, according to the Law of One, because he's in fifth density now. And fifth density is like I kind of see it as like an ashram. Like for the negative side, this is all according to the Law of One, guys. The negative side, fifth density, is where they actually get punishment. Like they go and have to sit in their time out and like think about all they've done as selfish souls. That's where they have to. That's why the fourth density service itself, that we lovingly call Lizzie's, they try not to go to fifth because they don't want to have to sit in that guilt, in that pain of what they cause other people. But for fourth density service to other, that's where they go to kind of be alone and to really integrate everything. So it's the same thing happening, but it's more like an ashram for the service to others, because the service to others has been aware of their effect on other people. They've already felt the guilt. So they're going and like being kept, kind of like the cave story, kind of being kept to really take it all in, to develop that wisdom, to then go to sixth. So fifth density has no bearing on our planet at all, because they are completely like isolated. So when people pray to Jesus, what according to the Law of One, an entity has been created out of prayers. And that is what is being is responding to people's prayers. Whether it's good or bad is really up to that person to decide, but it's not the person, the soul that was here on earth. It's not the same soul. So that's according to the Law of One.
Yeah.
So I think with people like Yeshua, and even in some aspects like the Buddha, and some aspects, you know, of these Hindu stories, I think the most important aspect of that is learning from their experiences.
Yeah. It was just my understanding that they were the ones that brought through the Christ consciousness, and the Christ consciousness is...
That I disagree with. 100% disagree with. That's service to self. That is absolutely service to self, because that is relying on somebody else to come in to bring something that's already within every human anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, well, see, I've just been studying Rudolf Steiner lately because my girls go to a Rudolf Steiner school, and I've just been learning a bit more about his study of spiritual science, and it's called anthroposophy, and it's very, very fascinating. And yeah, and he talks about the Christ consciousness that is already within us, but we need to
find it.
Into it. Yeah.
So and teachers. So like if Yahshua was anything, he was a teacher. So like
that's kind of my understanding too, is that because he came, he kind of helped us all to realize that we have Christ consciousness within us, and that
you're not going to get your Christ consciousness is not going to awaken by somebody just teaching you. Like that's not going to happen. You have to actually do the like it's
of course, but he gave the awareness.
And he wasn't the only one. There was a bunch of them that came down at that time. Most of them were sixth density, though. He was the only fourth density. And that's why he got into so much trouble. And so the Law of One is a little bit like, we don't really suggest you do that. That he was kind of a bad boy for doing that. Like that was kind of something, and he's had to stay in fifth density for longer to kind of learn boundaries a little bit like that, you know. But it makes sense, because like even Lou says, like they want to step in and help in times of crisis for us, but they know they can't. They're having to learn that restraint.
I mean, because they care about us. So you know, they're like our kind of, it's like how we care for animals, and we want to jump in and step in and help them, but I do understand. It's just like for my children too. So many
Yeah,
times I want to step in and I want to stop them from experiencing anything, but that's a disservice to them because they're not going to
absolutely.
learn. They're not going to grow if
It's like,
they.
well, in the yoga world or in the Ashtanga world specifically, like it's very strength focused, like it's grueling,
Yeah,
especially for women because it was designed by men and women do it. And it's a lot of upper body strength and it's a lot on your shoulders and you have to really learn to use your arm strength and build that arm strength and that core strength. And it's hard. And I see my female students struggling a lot. And I want to, the sensitive side of me wants to be like, yeah, just take it easy. It's fine. But if I do that, if I tell them to take it easy, they're going to get injured along
it,
down the road. I have to tell them to keep going because
yeah,
otherwise they're going to get injured. That's
yeah,
a disservice. Even though they're struggling now, they're going to be struggling even more later on down the road if I didn't make them build that strength in this moment here. So it's the same, it's kind of the same thing. It's that, and that's what Lou says that they struggle with. Like Lou in the fourth density service to others, their collective memory, soul memory complex is that they're having to learn. That's what for every density we have something we learn, right? And so
yeah,
in fourth, they're having to learn tough love. They're
right.
having to learn when they can step in and when they cannot step in. When is it going to be better for the person to not? So he even says, Lou says, like, we won't help you unless you ask for help. But even then, sometimes we can't help you
Yeah.
because
And
you're
I think
so,
that's really important to understand that. Like, with your training, you've had to learn over years of experience when to step in and when to step back and to
yeah.
assist. And I think that's really important that we learn that.
And I still don't get it wrong. I still don't, I still get it wrong. Like there's sometimes where I'm like, oh, I should have been harder on that student. Or sometimes I'm like, I think I need to pull the student back. And that's probably my fault that I didn't force them to like work harder, and so it's still a learning experience, but we see that. And I think that's what Yahshua struggled with when he came. I think that's why they don't like the universe. The creator doesn't like fourth density to wonder. I think they want souls to wait to get to sixth so that they understand they're not so eager to
And
interrupt somebody's karma.
and so most people that are wanderers, what density?
Sixth. Most are
Okay.
sixth. Yeah.
Just because Shane asked
Yeah, I
kind
love
of.
that. I'm so confused about Jesus understand the creators. Yeah, exactly. I think that's where a lot of people are, Shane, where people are very confused about these figures, but understanding God
Well, I
is
mean,
simple.
God, there's so much out there
Yeah.
that's offering differing opinions about it. It's yeah, it's
That's
different.
why, because he was so erratic, because he was so like eager. I mean, obviously his soul was because he went through amnesia before he got to Earth, right? As we all do, but that eagerness of the soul, that it kind of evolved in something it's not what he intended. And that's
And I
the
mean,
lesson that he had to learn in fifth was like, oh, this is why we wait so that we don't have, like, look at the crusades, like look at how many people have unalived people in the name of Jesus or in the name of
oh,
Yah, like, oops, like that's why, and all these other people that were around at that time doing the same thing, we don't see their names being used
mhm.
quite like, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, I remember you talking about there's different wanderers that have come down and tried, or people have come from sixth density and then they've ended up going negative
Yep,
because
they
of the
get stuck in the
choices that
karmic
they've
loop.
made. So
Yeah,
you've just, yeah, you got to kind of be careful, don't you?
you
Because there's that
absolutely.
risk that you can come in from a higher density, but then you could leave as a lower density if you haven't made the right choices.
And it's the amnesia, right? It's that amnesia
Yeah,
because you don't
because you're
realize,
thinking,
and it doesn't make people better. I want to get that very straight. Like being a wanderer doesn't make anybody any more valuable or any more spiritual than the
no.
next person. Like we're all under amnesia, right? So that we got to get rid of that idea. But I think the life of Jesus according to the law of one is a really good lesson into what tough love and wisdom looks like and what
Mhm.
can go so wrong if tough love and wisdom is not understood. Does that make sense? Like that it's not totally, because he had unadulterated like love for everyone. Joshua did. He loved everyone and he was there to try to help. But because he was blinded by his own love, sometimes he might have helped a little too much and it
Right.
caused a lot of issues. I think that's the big lesson. He himself, he wasn't a bad, obviously he went back positive. He was service to others, but it was like, we got to like let people make mistakes. You have to let, when a child is learning how to walk, you have to let them fall sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of, from what I've understood from the law of one, that's why we've been in the mess we've been in the however many years it's been since he's been here, where we have warring factions, and because there was too much intervention and not enough self-discovery for his students to be able to understand that it's the self, it's the inner self that's really going through the transformation, not the outer self. So
Yeah.
the ego, if you're interrupting people's karma, then their ego is going to get out of hand. And I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of his students, is their egos were so, I don't like I've been very honest, like any stories we have of his disciples, they were all assholes. Like I can't stand his disciples were nasty people, nasty pieces of work, especially Peter. Especially Peter was a nasty piece of work. Talk about like probably one of our first documented malignant narcissists was Peter. And I think with the disciples, they felt so good around him because he was making them feel good and he was kind of coddling them in their journey, even though he wasn't coddled. I think that it grew into these factions. And that's kind of I mean, from what I understand from Lou, we had like Magdalene was a higher density wanderer. She was like a sixth density wanderer. And she kept trying to rein him in. She kept trying to pull him back and be like, you can't, you know.
And
So
so when you were going through the missing books of the Bible, did you kind of get a feel for the different disciples then?
yeah, you do get a feel for them. I mean, some of them are kind of funny. Like Philip was kind of funny. His wife was sassy. Philip's wife was sassy. And it just shows, yeah, exactly. He kind of messed up. That's where Jesus messed up. Is that he did too much for people, and that's why you see so many different religions in his name, like throwing their toys out of the toy basket at each other, right? Like, my Jesus is better than your Jesus. It's not about your Jesus being better than your Jesus. The
Yeah.
two Jesus are what's inside of you. Heaven and hell are inside of you. So if he had not coddled them as much, then we might not be in the situation we're in. He might not have had to, we might not have had things like the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Very
So
interesting.
I think that's the problem, and I think that's why I love Hinduism so much. Like, it's not relying on somebody else to come and save you or anoint you. It's you anoint yourself.
Yeah, I
You
do agree. I really does not resonate with me with the whole that we have to go through Jesus to be saved and all of that kind of stuff. That just does not make sense to me at all.
I
And
like
and
I just
yeah,
see, yeah, I think that's he was just a soul like we are, just trying to figure it out. And he messed up. We mess up, we all mess up. Like, he's just, and when we look back at the beginning of the Christian faith, it was understood. It was understood that that's one thing that they did understand, that he was not actually the son of, we're all the children of God. It was Constantine at the Council of Nicaea that turned him into a demigod, you know? Um, I'm the same way, Shane. I just speak more to God.
yeah,
Like, and that's what Jesus was trying to tell people,
exactly.
is you just go straight to God yourself. Like, you
Yeah,
don't need anybody. So
you
that is
don't.
that is actually the main lesson that he was trying to teach, was like, it's you, boo. It's
Yeah,
the Pharisees and the Sadducees, as they were back then, they can't save you. Who are the Pharisees and the Sadducees now? The preachers, the reverends, the Pope, the rabbis. Like, they can't save you. You have to save yourself, right? And so that, I think, is absolutely, to err is human. To err is human, and he was human. He knew he was human, and that was the church that changed. It was Constantine, 300 years later, after the fact, that turned him into a demigod.
Yeah.
And so, and that makes people, their ego, like my faith is better than your faith, and I'm going to heaven, you're going to hell because you don't. Even within Christianity, right? Like even within Christianity, people, certain denominations believe other denominations are going to hell. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. No
Yeah.
one's going to hell. You might go service to self, but that's your choice. You're going by what you choose to do, you know? So anyway, and that's in the missing books of the Bible, Jesus does teach them yoga.
Hmm.
There's a book all about yoga.
Yep.
So yeah,
Very fascinating, isn't
very
it?
fascinating. You have to go through the initiation though. You cannot get out, you cannot just you can't lazy your way through karma.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree.
You cannot lazy your way through karma. You have to embrace the karma. You have to go through the tough stuff. You have to, in order to move forward, you can't. And I would so much rather do it through exercise than do it through life lessons.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a bit of both is valuable because I mean, we all learn life
Yeah.
lessons, don't we? We don't always get a choice. I feel like when I start to get a bit of an ego about things, I find the universe likes to humble me pretty quickly.
Pride cometh before the fall.
Yes.
I
So,
will. I guess, like my favorite, I think like my favorite, I've said this story before. We can maybe kind of end on this, Paula. One of my favorite stories, um, one of my favorite Hindu gods is Hanuman,
mhm.
who is the monkey god. I love Hanuman. Hanuman is more human than um, uh, any other deities. Like he's cheeky. He forgets who he's the son of the wind god. That's an important note. He's the son of the wind god. But he kind of forgets that he has these like magical powers, but he's very mischievous and he likes jokes. And so part of Hanuman's story throughout all the different stories is him kind of forgetting and then remembering and then forgetting and then remembering, right? And so the Ramayana, in the story of the Ramayana, Ram marries, he's like the Lord, and Ram marries his beloved named Sita. And Sita and Ram are happily married. And there's this demon called Ravana, and Ravana is this 10-headed demon, and he's the beast that can't be slain. You cut one head off, another one grows back. Like he's like the most feared of all the demons. And Ravana gets jealous of Sita, so Ravana kidnaps Sita, and Ram is just absolutely destroyed, and he's devastated. And so he hires Hanuman, who is like the best military, vivacious person that he can think to hire to help him find Sita. So Hanuman goes on this journey, and all these things happen, and he remembers who he is. He's standing on the coast of India, and he's looking at Sri Lanka, which is where Ravana has taken Sita. He also remembers he has the ability to fly, and so he jumps over to Sri Lanka, and he finds Sita in the forest, and he realizes that he has a choice. He can either bring Sita back, he could kidnap her back, but he knows that if he does that, that Ravana is just going to kidnap her again, and it's just going to be this constant cycle, right, of Sita just being pushed back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So he decides that he's going to have to do the impossible. He's going to have to defeat Ravana to end this once and for all. And you can read the Ramayana if you want to know how Hanuman does that, but he does. He defeats Ravana, and he returns Sita back to Ram. Well, of course, the fundamentalist Christians will go crazy and be like, you're worshiping multiple gods. It's not about a monkey god, right? That's not what it's about. So in this story of the Ramayana, Ram is God, Sita is the soul, your soul, Ravana is your ego, and Hanuman is your courage. That
Mm.
courage that forgets from time to time. And the fact that he's the son of the Lord of the wind, well, what is wind? That's the breath. The breath connects to the nervous system. So Hanuman does things when he's scared shitless. But remembering he's the son of the wind, when we take that breath and do it anyway
And be brave.
and be brave, that's why I love Hanuman so much. I love Hanuman. He is my absolute favorite of all of them because he's so cheeky and he's so strong, and he does things even when he's afraid. And there's a really famous quote when he's saying to Ram, Ram is God. And he says to Ram, When I don't know who I am, I serve you. When I know who I am you. And that's such an important line. It makes me emotional every time. When I don't know who I am, when Hanuman forgets who he is, he serves wrong. But when he remembers who he is wrong.
He's one.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they don't. So Sarah, that's yeah, exactly. And that's I like so in Hinduism, that's one thing that a lot of Westerners think Hinduism is multi-gods. It's not. Hindus believe in one God. They're monotheistic. They just believe in all these aspects and attributes of this mythology story that help explain their their
yeah.
things, right? Their and that's what I think yeah, I think that's and it is. So every single like God, like in Hinduism is an aspect of ourselves, of our higher consciousness. Just like every single demon is an aspect of our ego, right? And so it's but then the demon becomes what? In Hinduism, the demon becomes the demonstrator, the teacher. You know, Hanuman wouldn't have figured out his courage if Ravana had not stolen the soul. If the ego had not stolen the soul away from God,
Yes.
the courage.
And see, that's the challenge. We need the challenge.
We need darkness.
Yeah.
That's the ego's place. That is its place, just to create the friction.
Yeah.
And so so every time I'm on my yoga mat and I'm doing about to do a posture I'm scared of, I take that deep breath. And a lot of that is trusting your teacher too, that your teacher's not going to give you something that you're not ready for. And yep. Yeah, it's Christians are very and that again, that's the whole oopsie daisy of Yahshua, right? Oopsie daisy, because he didn't, you know. So anyway, but yeah, so and that you can see that in the Bhagavad Gita, what's going on right now can mirror in the Bhagavad Gita. People always think yoga is light and love, but I remind people that yoga's genesis is in a war. The Bhagavad Gita is about a war. It's not light and love. It's uncomfortable. So, is there anything else you want to say to that, Paula?
Well, no, I love that you ended with that story. I do have to jump off now because I've got to go get my daughter from work. But what a great chat! What a lovely chat! And thank you everyone that's been chatting to us. I love getting your messages. Thanks for getting up bright and early, or being up super late in Melbourne.
And please join us, you guys. So we have the new Myths of Asana on. It's on the full membership, which includes the courses. You can use my name, Bryce20, for 20% off your first 6 months. You get the first 7 days for free if you just want to try it out. And tomorrow, Paula, we have our live class Tuesday, the 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, my time. I know that's late for Paula. She's okay. If you're in Australia, you don't have to join us if you're in bed. But if you don't join the live, it will be up. It will be up later
for replay.
Yeah, so it's not going away. You'll be able to do it later. So if you can join the live, join us. We're gonna be using our new sound system at AYA, so we look forward to it. And we have so many fun stuff coming up. Paula's got her tapping videos, which are amazing. She's got her whole PDF up there. So we look forward to growing even more with you guys as we continue to share these teachings. So thank you, Paula, for joining this morning.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll see you guys. Thank you, everybody. Bye, guys.
Bye.
This is it, boys. This is war. What are we waiting for? Why don't we break the rules already?
Girl, I know you gotta go.